Amnesty International has called on the Nigerian government to take urgent steps to end widespread killings in the country. And this is even as the organization claimed that more than 120 people have been killed since the inauguration of President Bola Tinubu on the 29th of May. The group also said attacks by gunmen have claimed 123 persons in the 2 weeks Mr. Tinubu has been president. They allege that authorities in the country had failed to protect people as killings have become a norm. Apparently, the killers are being emboldened by the authorities' refusal to launch independent and impartial investigations that could lead to the end of the killings. Killings, especially in the country's north, have intensified since April, while terrorists, locally called bandits now, have intensified attacks on rural and semi urban communities, especially in Zamfara, Sokoto, Kaduna, and Niger states, leading to the abduction and killing of hundreds of people. In the north central parts of the country, especially in Benue, Taraba, and Plateau states, ethno-religious clashes have continued to claim lives. Now um, let's now bring in one of our guests. Well, we do expect Solomon Dalyop, who is the president of Biram Youth. He's the president of Biram Youth in Plateau State. We expect him to join us much later, but we have joining us right now Kunle Falowo. Good morning to you, Kunle. Good morning to you, Kunle.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Good morning to you.
Great.
Welcome to VOP this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Now the figures, it has become, it feels like one person dies and it's okay in Nigeria. 20 people, it's okay. The numbers keep increasing, and it doesn't feel like anything anymore. Meanwhile, in some other parts of the world, when you hear that a citizen is dead, there is this, it makes cover page of the dailies. There is an agitation to want to solve it and make sure it does not repeat itself. Now, what are we doing wrong?
Well, that's an easy way to put it. So, what we're looking at is the fact that in some parts of the world, it's so unfortunate that we're seeing that some countries don't have respect for human lives. And if that is happening, if people die, especially people of uh, that do not have or do not possess any political affiliation to anyone, or they're not as rich or influential as any other person, they don't tend to make the cover pages of newspaper. And this is unfortunate because it just shows that it's a lack of respect for human life, a lack of protection from the government who's supposed to be protecting the citizens, and that's one of the paramount responsibility that they should be upholding all the time. It's really sad, and to put it in more context, uh, when you see headlines screaming 120 people dead, and then the next day you're seeing another scores of people dying, you just start to wonder what is going on and why is this happening and when is it going to end. It seems like we're kind of starting to get numb to the killings. Sometimes the ones that do not get affected by it, we just look the other way, like this is not even happening. And sometimes if it's not happening to your family member, aside from the killings, a large amount of people get kidnapped on a daily basis, and people are constantly paying ransom. Some people get lucky enough to get released, and other family members were never found. And it's so unfortunate because security operatives are not also helping matters. They're not looking for those people, and it's just a whole hot mess going on. I just feel like we need to do better than this because we're really moving to a point where our country is no longer a country anymore.
Well, that's not a good place to be, a place where the country doesn't feel like a country, where the country doesn't feel safe. Now, we've had insurgents infiltrate some parts of the country, and it's really troubling. Now, service chiefs have been changed, but some time back now, but it feels like nothing is being done. Now, should we cut this administration some slack, seeing that this administration is still new in office, just barely 3 weeks in office, barely, and already killings are rising to about 100 plus. Should we cut them some slack? Should we look at it from the point of view that, okay, maybe this administration is still new and they're still trying to get uh, things in place. Maybe they might address the killings in the country. What do you think?
So for the current administration led by I would say that we don't need to start giving them knocks yet. Although it is very okay to start um, reminding them of the uh, immense need for leadership positions that they've taken upon, the immense need for having um, to provide capabilities for people, having to the best brains behind um, finding best brains to handle some of the matters that are very dear to our heart. And some of those matters are security challenges. How do we tackle it? It's
You don't think
great that we're
the people that
on
have been
them to
appointed are
remind
not the
them
best brains?
that their job is enormous and we are counting on them to deliver. However, let's not forget that security challenges in Nigeria is not new. In the past administration, even though people like to draw a parallel between the fact that this is a former administration is an APC-led government, so this one's also APC-led government, and they've been battling with the same security challenges. However, I would like to say that the former administration had tried to nip the problem of insecurity in the bud, but uh, thousands of people lost their lives to bandits attacks and herdsmen, nomadic pastoralists, like they call them, or uh, Fulani herdsmen. Um, it's almost about probably between 8 to 10,000 people or more that have lost their lives, to those clashes and those killings. However, like I said earlier, the Bola Tinubu administration is pretty new. I think they're very aware of the situation that we are in, and if uh, they don't do anything about it, it just serves to tell us that our country might not have any hope anymore, because this is more like uh, a litmus test. If this administration do not get it right this time, it's going to be very, very troublesome. It's going to be extremely challenging for any other administration to come in and nip it in the bud. So, as far as it takes, and as long as it takes for them to understand the situation and work towards achieving security, because this is the bedrock of development. If there isn't a security in the country, there isn't going to be you know in employment opportunities. Companies are not going to bring up investment opportunities down to a country where it's insecure, because the infrastructure and their finances and the people, manpower and personnel are not going to be secured. So that's why you're having foreign investment being diverted to neighboring countries like Ghana, for instance, which is not even great, because some research did about a year ago said that Nigeria had lost over $40 billion owing to foreign investment that was diverted out of the country due to the insecurity in the country. So everything lies on the government being able to solve insecurity challenges in Nigeria.
All right. Now, in addressing we know that during the president's inauguration speech, some Nigerians expected that he would mention, his what he intends to do to curb insecurity, but that was not that was played down. All right. Some analysts were worried at the fact that the president did not talk extensively on insecurity and what he intends to do. Yes, he has had meetings with the service chiefs. He has met with them, but it's looking like he's in over his head already and doesn't know exactly how to go about it. Do you think that is true? And if that is true, what do you think he should be doing differently? Because people are looking up to him now to ensure that, look, Nigerians are safe. Because we have prior to the inauguration, we saw killings in places like Benue, Plateau, places where Nigerians who are living as refugees in Nigeria were attacked in the camps, in the refugee camps, and were killed. We've had issues where those who were those who have people that had been killed, trying to bury them, were still attacked and were prevented from burying their dead, and more people were killed. We've had this going on for way too long, just before the inauguration. I mean, so do you think he's in over his head and still trying to figure out what to do, or should he change the service chiefs?
That's a complicated question, but to be honest with you, as it is, for all of the political leaders that we're having right now, there everybody seems to be jostling for power and positions currently, but we know what we're up against, and they all know. And what I would like to remind every Nigerian is, um, it seems like the lower class and people of, like the common man are the ones at the receiving end of this insecurity, the space of insecurity, and the ones that are being killed on a regular basis. But what I would like to remind Nigerians is, it's going to get to a point where the influential, the popular, and the well-to-do, the wealthy among us will be the next target in line. And if that's happening, and that's going to be, that's going to be very, very regretful. It's going to be uh, horrifying to see, because they have everything to lose. But as it is, the Tinubu administration um, might not want to come off as giving false hope to Nigerians, um, based on the fact that he didn't address the insecurity challenges in the country during his inaugural speech. But however, that is not to say that he doesn't realize the importance of tackling and addressing this spate of insecurity in the country, because like I said, this is the bedrock of every other foundations that's going to be instituted in the country. The entire polity needs an overhaul, and insecurity is one of the major overhaul that we need, and across all boards. The entire structure, the security operatives, they've been briefed, and I know that they have meetings, and things are bound to change because uh, the international community are also watching, and they're looking at what is going to happen, and how this is going to be tackled. I think it's a leadership crisis that we have. If you cast the mind back to the previous administration, they had, during the fight for during the insurgency fight, um, there were accusations by the military cadet that uh, finances and ammunitions and weapons and all that they need, the military personnel they will be needing to to defend the territorial integrity of Nigeria, were being compromised by top leadership, and there were crises in within the military itself. I'm talking about the Nigerian military, and this were going on for months, and we were getting reports of um, commanders and senior military personnel stealing money and diverting this weaponry and not delivering, and helping to fight terrorism in the country. And what happened to them? We didn't really hear the aftermath of those that have been identified to have been perpetrating that act.
Mm.
So in the large scale, it has to do with the leadership. The people are there to fight and defend the country, but when the leadership is not helping, and when the leadership is not doing what they're supposed to, what's going to happen to the regular folks? So
All right.
everything leadership, and when we start to get it right from the top, sometimes people would say it's the bottom to the bottom down to the top, but in our case, it's top to
From
bottom.
the top to the
We're
bottom.
looking, yes, we're looking for them to show us leadership.
All right, and so as Nigerians look up to the leader to show that they can actually handle these issues. Let's introduce another guest who's also joining us virtually, Solomon Daliop. He's the president of Birom Youth in Plateau State. And Solomon, I've spoken with him quite a number of times. He has been personally affected by these killings. Good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother. Good morning,
Good
listeners.
morning. Solomon, now tell us, what is the situation in Plateau State at the moment?
Well, the situation here on the plateau is very, very
The line is breaking.
for
I
the
didn't get a
past.
few things that you said. Can you repeat that, please?
But I said the situation here on the plateau is very, very pathetic and appalling because the security situation is increasingly degenerating on daily basis. Just on Sunday, shortly after worshippers came out from church service, Fulani militias in their thousands. Unlike before that, you see militias in their hundreds, 500, 700 coming to invade communities. But the alarming number of them is, is now in thousands. Like what happened in Josurium local government. 3 communities were attacked. And the number of militias that came out were more than 2,000 to invade and invaded 3 communities. And it will shock Nigerians to know that they surrounded all those villages. And they are from 2 p.m. up to about 8 p.m. in the evening. Of course, we appreciate the rapid response of Sector 6 of Operation Safe Haven. However, the sector was overwhelming due to shortage or inadequate personnel on ground. And as a result of that attack, 19 people were reportedly killed in Riom local government and 2 others in Barikiladi, the neighboring local government. And of course, following that one, they've been increasing attacks on those same, communities. And just a night before yesterday, there was also a loss of 4 people. The militias came and attacked Haipang. And Haipang is just a community that is hosting just airport. And it's just close to the airport. A neighborhood to the airport was invaded and 4 people killed. And there is a security checkpoint that is not up to a kilometer from that particular village that was invaded. And the road is a third road. It's not that it is not a motorable road, where it will be said there was difficulty in coming to, intervene. But the attack lasted for almost an hour without the military presence. It was only when The military came when the attackers had already, consummated their heinous, mission and left. And so it actually becomes very appalling, very, disheartening that, attackers will come, and then there will always be security intelligence gathered and given hours or some minutes before time. So it becomes very, very, very unbelievable that, attackers will come, have their field day, and then return back after, after the incident. You see military coming in. However, we must still appreciate the Sector 6 command. That one is a command that we've witnessed unprecedented rapid response. I must confess that one. But other places, there will always be delay in the response of the military. And that has always made the plateau youth to call out for redeployment, replacement of the security, particularly military personnel, with mobile police, so that probably the state can experience, a change in the security formation, rather than just relying on a particular, security agency or security outfit that is not giving the desired result, not actually undermining what Sector 6, only Sector 6, is, doing well. So that is the situation, and at the moment, we have very, very alarming population of IDPs, and of course, widows and orphans. Just on Sunday, the whole community was uprooted, and then the people are now in IDPs. These are people that were displaced before now, and then they have now been redisplaced. So you see, an IDP will be displaced not less than 2, 3, or 4 times in his own land, because the community that was invaded by the militias is named Hegwe in Kwi of Riom local government. Now they've been moved from about 3 locations. After displacing them to a new location, they will try to resettle by self-effort, not government coming to aid in the resettlement of these individuals. Then they will still be invaded. And we've always cried out, we've always prayed that there should be security presence in those places, especially where security intelligence has been given to the effect that Fulani militias are moving. Either they are moving or they have already concluded plan to go and invade villages and communities. And those security intelligence will be circulated to the appropriate authorities, to all the security outfits in the state, believing that there should be a proactive measure, to counter or to avert or to repel the attackers during, these attackers are not spirit. And where they've been hosted are places known, are places that they have uprooted the native inhabitants and are currently occupying.
And that's where they are, where they're occupying places now, and that will give the impression that the security agents know where they are. Have the security agents at any point in time tried to launch an offensive?
Well, we've not seen any offensive attack, and that is what we're expecting. We've not seen any offensive attack. In short, it will surprise you that the leaders of the militias sometimes be called. Their leaders, their ardos, the ardos of the Fulanis, will be called that ask your people to retrieve. And then they will assure them that we're going to call them back. And you will see,
sorry, I need to,
of the militias, and then later on,
I need to understand. I need to understand who calls the leaders of the attackers. Who makes the call?
Some of the security, yes, some of the because some of the security agents and even the local government authorities.
Okay,
because
so
anytime we place a call, you say, okay, who will call the leaders of the Fulani from where the militias are coming from?
Okay.
And then for someone to have accommodated and hosted attackers who will launch an attack without telling without relating it to the security operatives that militias have infiltrated my own settlement and they are about launching an attack. So without reporting that to the security, made that leader a complicit, makes him a party to that act of terrorism and criminality. So security will call them We have seen Fulani from your own end coming to attack this community. Call them back. Local government authorities have in several locations also called, because I always place a call on the local government. The Fulani are advancing to attack this community again. Oh. Then local government will call the leaders of the Fulani within that area. And then we've never seen a situation whereby the attackers have come and then the Fulani in those settlements stop them. Or, that has never happened. In one of the attacks that was unleashed just some weeks back, where a young man was killed in his farm when they went to apprehend cattle that went to graze overnight. Some of the cows were apprehended. Some of the Fulanis who were asked by the local government that please try and intercept those cows that came and grazed on this land. And they told the local government chairman of Riom, that we have apprehended the cows. But the Fulanis who went for that heinous mission, who in the process of it killed a young man, went and threatened those Fulanis who apprehended those cows. And then from there, the whole story changed. This one was saying they've been threatened, so they cannot be able to point out the perpetrators of this act. Now you begin to see how the whole thing is, how dicey, how complex, how compromising the whole operation is.
All right then. Now, according to Amnesty International is of the opinion that from May 29 up until today, we've had a little over 120 people killed. Do you agree with the figures, or could it be more?
From May 29?
Yes.
To date.
Have you had fresh?
Well, it is yes, of course. Amnesty International has been a body corporate with integrity in this country. And I want to believe they may not have even captured it, comprehensively, because there are so many unreported incidences here on the plateau. Just like a night before yesterday, Mangu local government has been on attack from the day, shortly after these elections. They just concluded the election. Mangu local government has been on it. Now, they have uprooted several villages. Now, it appears to be only some few districts and the local government headquarters that is standing. And we've not seen any, counter-attack or any offensive attack from the side of the security personnel against these militias that have been hired from the northeast, according to intelligence, from Taraba, from Benue, Nasarawa, Kaduna, Zamfara, Bauchi, and so many other places.
When you say hired, who do you think is doing the hiring?
Of course, the ones that are already in the state and the leadership of the Fulani in those areas, because we've not seen, if I'm against terrorism, if I'm against any act of criminality, once I see strange faces coming into my own domain, and these are not large areas, these are settlements that are, very, 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 very open, except in the place of Rankun, which has been renamed as Mahanga, where it is a little bit, there are some shrubs, it has some valleys that, these guys will always have their hideout. And then you begin to also surprise that when it comes to security meeting, it is the leaders of the Fulani that will come. Those that are known will come. And then they will begin to make even threatening statements. If this thing is not happen, if they are not issued indigenous certificates, Riom will not know peace, Plateau will not know peace.
Okay, now let's look at the one that happened.
And later on release. These are the same individuals that when there is an attack, they will be called. Ask your boys to withdraw. Ask your boys to retreat, to go back, and then so. What is actually being played out?
All right, let's look at the one that happened close to the airport. You pointed out that the road is a tarred road, and there's a security checkpoint not too far away from the village that was attacked. Now, did your organization or did anybody try to ask questions as to why the security agents in that area...
Sorry, I didn't get you. Pardon, I didn't get you. There was an interruption on the network.
No problems. Now, I'm talking about the attack that happened close to a village close to the international, I beg your pardon, the airport. The airport
Yes.
there. You did say that the road is tarred, and there's a checkpoint, a security checkpoint, not too far away from the village.
Not up to a kilometer. Not up to a kilometer.
Not up to a kilometer
Yes,
from the village.
Just possibly like 500 to 600
Was the
meters away.
checkpoint? Do you know if the checkpoint was manned as at the time of the attack?
As I'm talking to you now, there's still that checkpoint. It is still existing.
No, were people there? Were security agents there?
There are security personnel of Operation Safe Haven are stationed in that place. And then from the Sector 4 headquarters, it's not up to 3 kilometers. And from the sector headquarters, which is
I'm trying to get a picture. I'm trying to get a picture of this. So you're telling me that the security agents, Operation Safe Haven, they were there.
Yeah.
They were there, and then they heard the gunshots about a kilometer away.
Exactly.
They heard the shoutings and the crying, the cries from people about a kilometer away, and they did not make any call for backup. They did not make any move to approach, to defend. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, it was. Exactly. It was after the incident had already been executed, and the attackers, fled with over 50 cows, Russell, because our own people also rear cows. So with about 50 cows, Russell, after they had already left, that is when the military came in. And it will also interest Nigerians to know that the sector headquarters, which is Sector 4, and which is sited in Barikiladi, is not up to 4 kilometers away. In short, it's not even 4. Like we say, 3 kilometers away to where the incident occurred.
Do we call this an attempt to rustle cows or an attempt to displace the people living in those areas, the villages? Is this an attempt to steal, or an attempt to just annihilate people?
Yes, it's not only an attempt to steal alone, but also to carry out an ethnic cleansing, as well as impoverishing the natives and people of Nigerians living within that general area, impoverished. That is a mission, because almost a sizable number of farmlands that are awaiting, like maize farms that are waiting, weeding, some have even been, weeded, and then some are at the point of harvest, like the Irish potatoes, now completely destroyed. And they will do it in both broad daylight and midnight hours. That is what is happening. That shortly after the mass burial of those killed a night before yesterday, the same militias came with their cows and went and grazed into about 10 to 20 farmlands, completely destroying them. And it was reported to the security. Even though they went a bit late, but the destruction had already been carried out. And then the natives are not, once they go there, because the militias are already armed with sophisticated weapons, that you cannot dare go there. So you can see how dicey our situation is. You see a crime, you see acts of terrorism being, unleashed on you. You cannot go. You cannot do anything. You report to the security, and then of course you will not see rapid response as is desired.
All right.
But I told you, of course, in the process of stating a self-defense, there was a killing on act of provocation. There was a shooting of 2 cows or so by the locals. The rapid response that came from the security, it was a shocking one. And you begin to wonder, where has security gathered this momentum to, carry out a rapid response because a cow was affected? but human lives that were lost, a whole community
No,
was uprooted.
you might need to say that again. There was the. Are you saying that indigents killed a cow, and then security agents came to defend?
Of course, there was an allegation because
Okay, there was an
while an
allegation.
attack, yes,
Okay,
while an attack was carried out in a neighboring village,
okay,
the Fulanis went to the other. Once an attack was carried out in Kwi, which is a neighboring village to Gaza,
okay.
and then of course, possibly out of provocation, because there was no security intervention in that place. And then, of course, these are the same native. They are all Birom people within those areas. And then they were still grazing into people's farmland. So, and then some cows, like 2 cows, were killed as an act of provocation of what was happening in Kwi.
Okay.
The rapid response that came as at that time, it was very surprising. That same couldn't be set in motion, to rescue places and then communities under attack. So we can see that there is a compromise in the whole process, and that is why we are calling, we are appealing to the president-elect, to Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to please, just as my brother was making a presentation as to the compromise of some of the security heads, there should be an investigation into some of this. There should be even a drastic change in the security formation, so that Nigeria can possibly have a good security atmosphere.
All right,
And
then.
we will then see whether there will still be record of this kind of outright failure and negligence in terms of public duty imposed on them.
All right, Kunle, let me come back to you now. You've heard the testimony from Solomon. What do you make of the things that he has pointed out, especially the fact that security agents seem lax in carrying out their duties? Is it that they are not receiving orders, or what do you think is going on?
So, Solomon, I would commiserate with your communities and the people of your immediate environment, and I feel your pain, and I believe all Nigerians can all feel your pain. Um, you're speaking passionately for your people, and that's what we need. We need to speak up for our people, and we need to continue to advocate for good governance. However, it's so terrible, it's so bad that we're seeing this trend continue. But one thing I have seen or kind of noticed from every report that he kind of said was that there seems to be a trend in some of these activities, and and it seems it appears to be like the security operatives in that region, that area, they kind of understand the complexity of it, and they know the folks that are leading this campaign against the indigenous or the indigents of those communities. So the state governments needs to intervene. Um, there needs to be some form of compensation to the indigenous of those communities because they're the ones that are being affected. Um, this is just not the federal government's uh, fight alone. The state government needs to also intervene. I would also recommend that Solomon begin to filing petitions to the IGP, filing petitions to other security operatives, and also to the international community. You can also do that, and that will kind of put a little bit of pressure and put uh, international view more like to those community, and they could come in and see what's going on. If it's always going to happen and we're just going to be commiserating with the people that are dead, and which is not even good, because it seems like this is a recurring act and it keeps going on, and there seems to be no end to the cycle. So unless there are other measures that are taken, um, these atrocities to be exposed to everyone to know. It seems like it's underreported much, and it's just terrible to witness situations like this in this present age and time where these things aren't supposed to be happening.
All right, so Solomon, let me come back to you now. I asked Kunle earlier what he felt about the president's inauguration speech and the fact that emphasis wasn't laid on insecurity and how he intends to tackle it. Were you worried when you heard the president's speech on the day of inauguration and the fact that you know the security architecture or the insecurity in the country was not like topmost on the things that he talked about? Were you worried?
Of, of course, of course. Is a worrisome situation. Believing that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, a true Democrat, a seasoned politician, a member who has attained a big height in his professional career as a lawyer. We want to believe that he ought to have given rapt attention by reflecting it in his own speech as to how and the drastic measures that he will employ to address the situation.
All right, do we still have Solomon? All right, we seem to have a problem with the network there. And
Sorry for the interruption in the network.
no problems,
Of
go
course,
on.
yes. A country cannot experience or witness any meaningful development in the kind of security atmosphere we found ourselves in today. And then we also believe that, because security threatens life, any insecurity threatens life. And of course, life is sacred. And looking at it in our constitution, right to life has been made number one in the fundamental. No one can talk of any other, corresponding rights we have. So right to life, all other rights are hinged on it. And then for the president not to have come out pragmatic commitment towards ensuring that Nigerians are, are living in peace, their safety, and then their lives are guaranteed. Of course, it becomes very, very shocking and appalling. However, my own fears are relatively allayed due to the fact that I can see, the handwriting of his fight against corruption, suspension of some alleged, corrupt individuals. It actually gives me a ray of hope that, of course, he will look at the security, circle and bring about a transformation by taking a drastic measure so that there would be compromise. If that one is done, or if you will extend this, probing, suspension, and then, of course, changing of the security chief, just as he's doing in other paramilitary agencies like in the EFCC, the CBN, and other agencies of government, that will, give Nigerians, the confidence that despite the fact that he couldn't capture it in his own presidential speech, however, his action will be a definite pointer to the measures he will take in tackling insecurity in this country. Because allowing the insecurity to thrive will be an encouragement to terrorism and other terrorist elements and their cohort and also their sponsors to feel that the president is weak, but I'm not seeing him as a weak president. I'm seeing this man that by the grace of God, with the measures he's taking, Nigerians will soon go to sleep with their eyes closed. So I'm praying that in an event that he has not averted his mind towards addressing this, it's my passionate appeal to him to please guarantee the safety of Nigerians, because terrorism has infiltrated almost everywhere. Remember during Goodluck time, he said even among his people, among his cabinet, it appears there are terrorist elements that have infiltrated it. And then you imagine if number one citizen of the country is alleging that one, then of course, what do you expect? It therefore means before it gets to the head, it must have penetrated the other part of the body. And then for it to have gotten to the presidency, it must have started from somewhere. And then you can see that is a pointer to degeneration of insecurity in the country. And I pray that the president will have his two eyes open. And, you know, with the selection of the cabinet members he's doing, and which we are keenly observing and appreciating, we believe that Nigeria will actually experience relative peace, if not total peace, in his administration. And that is what we are looking forward to seeing and having from him, which Nigerians will greatly appreciate, and he will be remembered for that.
All right. Let me take you back a bit. Something just occurred to me. You know, when you were talking initially, you said something about people coming out from the church, having attended service, and they were attacked. Now, how is it that as troubled as the plateau is, how badly has this affected people's daily lives? It seems like people still go about certain activities, like going to church, for example.
Yeah, you know, the situation here in the state is not that it has affected everywhere.
Okay.
There are some, because largely we are experiencing the insecurity on the plateau in 3 to 4 local governments at the moment.
Okay.
Riom, Barikiladi, Bokos, and Mangu axis. And then there are some unreported skirmishes of attacks, incidents of kidnapping, abduction in other local governments. If you go to Basa, you know, part of just as some days back, we had the kidnapping or abduction of some university students, you know, stuff like that. So those are some skirmishes you hear from other places. So but we go to Riom, people can't go to their farms. If you go to church, you must go to church under, you know, tense atmosphere. Instead of spending like 2 hours, you go to church and spend like 10 minutes, 20 minutes. You just go and pray, and then everybody disperse to, you know, go and take a watch. So that is the situation. Likewise in Mangu. However, the situation, because a plateau man remains a peace-loving individual, he will not initiate any attack. So you can see that people are plying the roads, even in some of those areas where attacks have been carried out. Because it is not the natives that are attacking people passing by or attacking the Fulanis, but it is rather the Fulani that will come for an attack. So whenever they have been repelled by eventual response of the security forces, then you see the road is still made open, and then individual will ply the road. So that is how the situation is in the state. But if you go to villages, of course, that is where life is very unbearable for the native inhabitants.
Okay.
And the people begin to surprise. You know, why are the Fulanis? There is already a ground agenda for the Fulanization of this country by these militias. Because all they will tell you is that you must allow them to kill you, allow your farms to be destroyed, then that is peace. You dare not react, you dare not respond, you dare not, you know, counter anything. Well, if you do that one, and then in the event that they are killed, they will go and report to the security forces that their people have been killed. And that is what Mieti Allah usually does. Also making the Fulani to look like the aggressors. But the actual thing happening here on ground, that is why we are calling. In short, I'm calling on His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to scrap Mieti Allah. It is a wing that is promoting and encouraging this kind of insecurity in the country. And of course, the Fulani militias be declared as terrorists. Otherwise, you will always be treated as law-abiding citizen that is an ethnic clash or is a farmer settlers clash. There is nothing. Fulani also cultivate those lands that have been forcefully taken over are being cultivated by the militias, by the Fulanis. Why are they not destroying their own farms? If it is the farmers' headers clash, why are some of the natives who own cows not destroying their own neighbors' farmlands? Why is it not? Why is only the Fulanis? Why are they terrorizing even the houses in Zamfara, the same bandits, the Fulanis? Terrorizing everywhere, terrorizing people in Taraba, in Nasarawa, in Benue, the same individuals. So if drastic measures are not taken to cut down this menace and the excesses of the Fulani, I tell you, Nigeria will experience no peace and many, many communities will overrun. And that will give them, every reason to believe that the Fulanization agenda and the ethnic cleansing that is ongoing will continue. And it will be too late for Nigeria to realize that this thing has a ground plan. There is a ground plan to have people killed, to uproot them from ancestral homestead and then take over the land. So that they will begin to have, dominance, both economic, political, and what have you. I'm not seeing it as a religious because it was in those days where Plateau, when Riom is attacked by Fulanis, you see people in just, responding. The Hausas have also seen that it is not a religious kind of a battle or war, that they were, softly grafted into it. They have seen it, and that is why if you come to Just North now, you go to Barkiladi, the main town, where you have Hausa communities, Hausa settlement. Life is going on normal.
Okay.
Because it has come clear to Nigerians that the Fulanis have already vowed they must take over. In short, they have said that Nigeria belongs to them. It was handed over to them. And so they have come to take over their rightful, the rightful ownership of what they are entitled to.
All right, then. I guess we will have to wait and see what the president does in the days to come. I was going to ask you a question as to documentation. Now, how do you think Amnesty International and other organizations get the numbers? Is there a mechanism that enables you to report to the local, to make a report as to people that have been killed? How have you been able to document these numbers? Because it's paramount that we have accurate numbers.
Of course, well, even though we have to resort to coming up with a template where we have a record of people, incidents of attack, dates, locations, victims, number of fatality, and what have you. But in the recent time, because the security situation is overwhelming, you hardly sleep, you hardly go. In short, I don't know when last I appeared in court, just because of the Fulanese militia that are terrorizing people. I don't know when last I have ever smiled on my face because of how they've been ravaging villages and communities, uprooting them in broad daylight. So of course, with this, we'll have to assign individuals that will keep that record so that whenever it is needed. But of course, we've been issuing our press statements, capturing the names and then the figures. And if at all Amnesty International has been following up on that, I think that will be good. Or maybe by this engagement now on air, Amnesty International needs to come to us or to pick interest in what is happening so that we can see how we can synergize, putting our heads together and then come up with something workable. If it means petitioning, individual agencies, international bodies, ICC, International Criminal Court of Justice, over what is happening in the state, of course, we can put our heads together, and then we'll see the avenues we can explore towards having this situation addressed, and then explore ways to ensure that the IDPs teams, are giving needed attention, because there is humanitarian crisis very alarming in the state now. People are living in camps without any intervention, without food stock or anything, reach out to them.
Okay, I have noticed that in all you have said, you have not mentioned the governor, of the state, Governor Caleb Muftwang. You haven't mentioned how has his emergence helped things in Plateau State? Has it helped? If it has, how?
Hello?
I can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear
Okay,
you.
yeah. Of
Go ahead.
course, we are still patient with the executive governor of Plateau State, Barrister Caleb Mutfam, because one, from the information available to us, that the state is indebted, highly indebted, that even the last allocation that came to the state, possibly there wasn't anything to write home about because of the incurred by the recent past administration. So he cannot perform magic to see that things are set on motion, to see that the yearnings of the people are met.
Okay.
So of course, he has been on it. He has assured Plateau citizens that he will take the necessary measures, particularly, resuscitation of the state security agency, which is called Operation Rainbow, so that some of these vigilante, neighborhood watch, community police, hunters are incorporated, so that they can, address.
So what is the way? What do you think is the way forward now?
The way forward at the moment, it's one, there should be disarmament and dislodgement of the Fulani militias from those areas forcefully grabbed and are currently under their occupation. And then, of course, there should also be deliberate step towards resettlement of these IDPs in their home state. Because at the moment on the plateau, as at last year, we have a number of 100 and over 102 villages that have been uprooted and are currently under Fulani militias. So if that one is done, of course, it's going to be a very good step. And also, the Fulanis, should they continue in this, they should be declared as terrorists.
All right then.
So that they will be dealt with, there will be measures, drastic measures taken against them, just as it is being done in the middle, in the northeast. And I'm also calling, there should also be a change in the security formation. Okay. We want to have mobile police here in the states.
All right then. So let me come to Kunle now. Kunle, I'm going to ask you the same thing. What do you think the way forward is?
Well, some of the things that I feel like needs to be done is, I believe accountability is very important. Even if there's a formation of new personnel, if they're not accountable, we're still going to be facing the same problem, same old problem. So accountability on the side of the security operatives, they need to be accountable to what they do and to the people. They need those bad eggs among them need to be rooted out. I feel like there seems to be a lot of compromise in within the security operatives, and they might be engaging in some activities that are not necessary. So accountability and having having them do the right thing is very paramount at this point.
All right, then. Thank you very much. I must say a very big thank you to both of you, gentlemen, for your time and for coming on the program. Big thanks to Kunle Falowo and Solomon Daliop. We appreciate it. And well, do take care of yourself, and we'll hope to hear from you again soon. And by then, we do hope to hear good news.
Hopefully so.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Well, coming up next on VOP this morning, a lot happening in Abuja, from the National Assembly to the presidency. Medina Sambo will be joining us shortly for updates. Stay with us.